When was the last time a mid-season trade acquisition transformed into a franchise cornerstone so seamlessly that fans started questioning why it took so long to find him? Jake Walman's journey from trade deadline pickup to potential long-term Edmonton Oilers cornerstone reads like the perfect hockey fairy tale. But in a league where defensive contracts can make or break championship windows, the excitement surrounding his rumored extension carries both euphoric hope and stomach-churning anxiety. The timing of these contract discussions couldn't be more fascinating. While Connor McDavid's extension continues to dominate headlines and create sleepless nights for Oilers management, Jake Walman quietly emerged as the defensive stabilizer this franchise desperately needed. Sometimes the most impactful moves happen in the shadows while everyone's watching the spotlight, and Walman's rise represents exactly that kind of under-the-radar transformation that championship teams are built upon. What makes Walman's situation so compelling isn't just his individual performance. It's the instant chemistry he developed with Darnell Nurse that transformed Edmonton's entire defensive dynamic. When general manager Stan Bowman acquired Walman at the 2025 trade deadline, he wasn't just adding a defenseman. He was unknowingly solving a puzzle that had frustrated the organization for years. The statistical evidence tells a story that even the most casual observer can appreciate. The Nurse-Walman pairing generated a remarkable 61.2% expected goals percentage, posting 4.16 expected goals for, and just 2.64 expected goals against per 60 minutes. Those numbers don't just represent solid defensive play, they indicate the kind of possession dominance that playoff teams require to advance deep into postseason competition. Walman's regular season impact was immediate and undeniable. Logging over 21 minutes per night down the stretch, he contributed 8 points in just 15 games while seamlessly integrating into Edmonton's system. But the real test came during the playoffs, where Walman elevated his game even further, scoring 10 points in 22 games while averaging over 20 minutes of ice time in the league's most demanding environment. Head coach Chris Knobloch's decision to break up the Nurse-Walman pairing during the playoffs initially seemed counterintuitive, but it inadvertently showcased Walman's most valuable asset, his adaptability. When injuries forced lineup changes, Walman seamlessly transitioned between partners, skating with John Klingberg, while Nurse rotated through combinations with Brett Kulak, Troy Stecher, and Evan Bouchard. This versatility isn't just a nice bonus for depth charts, it's the kind of roster flexibility that championship teams require when the inevitable playoff injuries and suspensions occur. Walman proved he could excel in multiple roles and with various partners, demonstrating the hockey intelligence and professional maturity that separate good players from franchise cornerstones. The expectation that Nurse and Walman will reunite this upcoming season creates tantalizing possibilities for Edmonton's defensive structure. Their chemistry was so evident and their results so impressive that reuniting them seems less like a coaching decision and more like a mathematical inevitability based on performance metrics. NHL insider Frank Saravalli's recent report provides the kind of insider perspective that makes contract speculation feel more concrete than wishful thinking. "I'm told that they've made progress on an extension with defenseman Jake Walman," Saravalli reported, adding that they've been centered on a long-term deal between Walman and the Oilers. The key phrase here is long-term deal, which suggests Edmonton views Walman as more than just a short-term solution or bridge player. Long-term contracts represent organizational commitment and confidence in a player's ability to contribute at a high level for years, not just seasons. For a franchise that's been searching for defensive stability, this represents a significant vote of confidence. Bob Stauffer's speculation about a 6-year contract worth approximately $6 million annually provides additional context about the potential scope of this extension. If accurate, those numbers would place Walman firmly in the category of impact defensemen rather than depth pieces, reflecting both his performance and Edmonton's commitment to building around proven contributors. What makes Walman's extension even more crucial is the stark reality of Edmonton's defensive depth chart moving forward. According to contract information, only Evan Bouchard, Ty Emberson, and Darnell Nurse are under contract beyond this season. That means the Oilers are facing potential wholesale changes to their defensive core unless they prioritize retention of key contributors. Locking up Walman alleviates significant organizational uncertainty and provides continuity for a defensive unit that finally found its rhythm during last season's playoff run. Championship teams are built on continuity and chemistry, and breaking up successful pairings due to contract negotiations represents the kind of self-inflicted wound that derails promising campaigns. The financial implications of a Walman extension also provide Stan Bowman with crucial information for roster planning and salary cap management. Knowing Walman's contract status allows for more strategic decision-making regarding other pending free agents and potential trade acquisitions as Edmonton continues building toward championship contention. Walman's transformation from trade deadline acquisition to potential franchise cornerstone represents the kind of organizational success story that general managers dream about achieving. Deadline additions often struggle with system integration and chemistry development, but Walman's seamless transition suggests both professional adaptability and perfect scheme fit. His playoff performance particularly stands out as evidence of championship-caliber composure. Maintaining high-level production while averaging over 20 minutes in playoff hockey demonstrates the mental toughness and physical durability that championship teams require from their core players. 10 points in 22 playoff games represents significant offensive contribution from a defenseman expected to prioritize defensive responsibility. The statistical dominance of the Nurse-Walman pairing provides objective evidence supporting organizational investment. Expected goals percentages above 60% indicate not just solid play, but dominant possession metrics that translate directly into winning hockey. When defensive pairings generate those kinds of numbers consistently, extending the participants becomes organizational necessity rather than luxury. What makes this potential extension particularly significant is how it fits into Edmonton's championship timeline. With McDavid in his prime and the core roster constructed for immediate contention, organizational stability becomes paramount. Defensive continuity allows offensive stars to focus on their strengths rather than compensating for back-end uncertainty. Walman's emergence as a legitimate top-four defenseman addresses one of Edmonton's most persistent organizational weaknesses. For years, the Oilers struggled to find reliable defensive partners for their established players, creating lineup uncertainty that undermined systematic consistency. Walman's success with Nurse provides that missing stability while creating opportunities for other defensive pieces to settle into appropriate roles. The ripple effects of defensive stability extend far beyond individual performance metrics. When defensemen understand their roles and excel in their partnerships, it allows forwards to commit more aggressively to offensive zone play, knowing they have reliable support behind them. This systematic confidence often translates into the kind of consistent high-level play that championship teams require throughout long playoff runs. Edmonton's recent 3-year extension with Vasily Podkolzin demonstrates the organization's commitment to retaining contributors who excel within their system. Podkolzin's $8.85 million deal over 3 years shows Edmonton's willingness to invest in players who prove their value through performance rather than reputation or pedigree. This approach suggests a mature organizational philosophy that prioritizes fit and production over name recognition or draft position. Walman represents another example of this philosophy in action, a player who may not have arrived with significant fanfare, but proved his worth through consistent excellence when opportunities arose. The precedent set by Podkolzin's extension also provides insight into Edmonton's negotiation approach. They appear willing to reward performance with financial security while maintaining reasonable term lengths that preserve future flexibility. This balanced approach allows for player retention without creating potentially problematic long-term commitments. The ultimate question surrounding Walman's extension isn't whether he deserves organizational investment. His performance speaks for itself. The question becomes whether Edmonton can structure a deal that provides security for Walman while maintaining the roster flexibility necessary for continued championship pursuit. Championship windows in professional hockey are notoriously brief and unpredictable. Teams that fail to capitalize on their opportunities often find themselves wondering what might have been if they'd made different personnel decisions. Edmonton appears committed to avoiding that regret by securing the defensive stability that Walman provides. The broader implications extend beyond individual contracts to organizational identity. By prioritizing retention of contributors like Walman, Edmonton demonstrates commitment to building sustainable success rather than chasing short-term fixes. This philosophical approach often separates championship organizations from perpetual also-rans. Success breeds confidence, and Walman's rapid integration into Edmonton's championship blueprint provides evidence that this organization knows how to identify and develop winning players. His extension would represent another step in building the kind of systematic excellence that championship teams require. This contract negotiation will ultimately define whether Edmonton's defensive transformation becomes permanent foundation or temporary success. The stakes couldn't be higher for a franchise so close to championship contention, making Walman's extension one of the most important organizational decisions of the upcoming season. What's your prediction for Walman's extension? Do you think 6 years at $6 million annually represents fair value for both sides, or should Edmonton be more aggressive in locking down their defensive cornerstone? Share your contract predictions in the comments, and hit that like button if you're excited to see how this crucial negotiation unfolds.